Hey everybody, welcome back to another WARNO news roundup, which you should only expect when there's something interesting, which means today they announced something interesting. Eugen makes a new blog post or publishes a new blog post every Friday when it comes to WARNO, and there was one last week, which was sure I guess, but not really that interesting or not interesting enough to warrant a video in and of itself, but it was one today that actually gives us some interesting information. But let's just briefly cover the one from last week because there certainly is something that I would like to talk about. But I felt that making a video just when it comes to this single blog post wasn't really worth it. In any case, this one was titled Roadmap, and essentially they said they aim to plan to. This is not a guarantee to bring out new content, be it divisions or maps, every 2 weeks. And I mean, it is early access, They just reinforced it, so don't expect everything to be perfect. But I think everyone already got that message by now. And they published a roadmap. Now, I'm all for roadmaps. Many people like roadmaps, but you can't call this a roadmap. I mean, it is good to know, like, what they aim for, what to expect. But don't just call this a milestone or something. I think they even they even call it milestone A, right? But like a roadmap typically, at least in my eyes, includes something beyond just what is upcoming. So A for effort, D for execution. Again, there's nothing wrong with this blog post in and of itself, right? But just don't call it a roadmap. If this was a roadmap, it would include the planned, let's say late February, 2 more divisions plus one 2v2 map, and then March, just overall in March, a total of 3 divisions and 2 maps, and then in April you can expect that, and then just over the course of the next weeks, just be more detailed and update that specific roadmap. But if all you show is what to expect within the next week or two, that one update, then don't call it a roadmap. That's not a roadmap, that's a pit stop, or I don't know. Yeah. They tell us, obviously 8th US Infantry Division and the Soviet 39th Guards Motorized Rifle Division. Someone tell me why they're all called guards? It's like a specific type of division? Like, I don't know. And a 10v10 map. I mean, it is a new 10v10 map, but also the first 10v10 map. And then the third, I mean, in all fairness, they do go into the third and fourth milestone. But if you make an image called roadmap, then also include these maybe, right? Just don't give a time thing, but then, say, milestone 3, milestone David, Davout, they're all called after like French marshals from the Napoleonic era or something like that. Just like milestone Davout, 2 new German divisions, and then below that, milestone Murat, 2 new German divisions, and more maps. And then on the side, give like estimated late February or early March or something like that. But this image, it is just, no offense, Eugen, but it's just a bit sad. On roadmap details, they also said that they're also working on Toad stuff. We had it in Steel Division, so I think it was to be expected that we would get Toad units in WARNO, especially since Eugen did specifically say that Toad units were not in Wargame because of engine limitations. Those limitations are not there anymore, so it makes sense. And new loadouts for helicopters and planes, especially helicopter drop bombs. Now, when I hear that, I immediately have to think of Command and Conquer Generals with the Asian-packed helicopter that looked kind of, I don't fully remember, it's been a while, but they were very chunky and kind of looked like K-29s. Anyway, they could also drop napalm bombs, so that was funny. But that's interesting. It's certainly something that I don't think would really make, or should hopefully make, helicopter rushes stronger, because they probably have like, they would obviously drop that directly below them, right? So they don't really have a lot of range on that. And also other people say that they didn't really use it during the time. I don't know. And honestly, I don't care. If it's fun and, adds a new mechanic, I'm all for it. And worst case scenario is... Okay, worst case scenario is it's completely busted. But the worst case, let's say realistic scenario, or most realistic worst case scenario is probably that it's just pretty bad and nobody uses it. In which case, I guess it's just wasted dev time. I mean, they also go over the history of the divisions, which honestly, no offense, I don't care about. But this is now the actual meat. Was today's blog post, if you're watching this today on the 4th of February. Let's see, 10:02 a.m. and this one was 10:25. Okay. I assume they aim like at 10 a.m. CET. So, 8th US Infantry Division. In short, all you get are M113s and M113 Dragons. M113 A3 and the Dragon. M113 shouldn't it also be A3 Dragon, not just A? I don't know. So no Bradleys, but that also means that you have full squads, so no like Law Fire Team or Dragon Fire Team, because Bradleys didn't have enough space to carry a whole mech rifle squad. So, I guess you get less variety. But maybe you don't, and you'll see in a second. But like, pretty basic infantry. I'm wondering, someone tell me why they don't get an AT4? Was it just not deployed in 89 yet? Was it not used in Germany? Was it not used by these divisions? Like, if you look at War Game, what was the introduction date of the Razzmann 90s? Was it 90? It's 87. So someone tell me why this is just on a division basis that those divisions just for some reason didn't use 84s? Or did you just screw up with the date? Anyway. Dragons and Laws. Laws at the moment are pretty bad. Dragons are fine, but dragons are a bit hurt by the new heat calculation. So they can't really one-shot anything up to 4 armor anymore. The only thing they can one-shot is 1 armor or below. With the 18 AP they have. Then, they don't get the HA Abrams, but they get base M1 and M1A1, so that's nice. And this M60A3 pattern, alright. 3 tank variants. Unfortunately, it's gonna be more or less the norm of this. I'm still hoping that they're gonna spice something up with the way divisions and decks are created. But we're gonna have to wait and see. 2 mortars. Oh no, M125 and the M110. And this new division has more choice compared to its armored predecessor. And then they list 2 artillery pieces. Like, I'm not I'm not intentionally shitting on Eugene or anything, but they're making it too easy. Rangers, LARP, who are live action role playing, so that's fun. In the Recon tab, Cobras, of course, no Apaches. Apaches are a bit ridiculous until they fix the 1 armor thing. We now get finally F-16, so that should be interesting. F-111F as a tactical bomber. I assume that's just a heavier loadout. And the EF-111 Raven Seed. Now, that is interesting. Very interesting. Why? Now, I'm not an expert by any means. I'm not even an amateur, I'm even below that. But, small history lesson. At least from what I know. In that regard, I'm also not an expert. So the F-111, EF-111, was already in the game since Airland Battle. Even that specific model. And supposedly, I don't know if it's specifically that model they use, or EF-111 Ravens in general. They weren't, from what I got told and what I remember, right? I might be wrong with this, but I was under the assumption, from the information that I got, that the EF-111 Raven didn't actually use arms, right? Anti-radiation missiles. So it was essentially just jamming and whatnot. I don't know. I'm not an expert. But essentially it didn't actually shoot missiles from what I got told. And Eugene still implemented it that way because I didn't want to just waste the model. And then it just got carried over in a Dragon. Now I'm wondering if they're gonna quote unquote rework the Raven for WARNO, or just gonna say fuck it, we're gonna introduce it the same way as it is in Wargame. Either way, I don't really care too much, but I'm just wondering because I don't think it was like a huge shitstorm, but there certainly were some people who were a bit riled up about it. You know how gamers are, you know, throwing racial slurs and all that as soon as they don't get their chicken tendies. You get it. So, but this division also gets some Germans. I mean, you can read the reason why. So, because the 8th Infantry Division would support the 11th Armored Cavalry, so they get support from some German territorial troops, which include Jägercivil, Jäger Light Infantry. It's gonna be interesting. Probably gonna be using the Panzerfaust 44. Panzerfaust 3 most likely will not be in the game. I think there were some prototypes and whatnot ready in 89, but that's not what Eugen wants to do most of the time. M120A that is in the game is like a bit of an edge case, but I don't expect we're gonna see the Panzerfaust 3 for Germany. So the heaviest non-ATGM AT weapon they get should be the Carl Gustav M2 from what I know. I don't think... I vaguely seem to remember that the Panzerfaust 44, used by base Panzergrenz and Jäger in Wargame, had different grenades, so maybe we see a lower and higher AP version of that, but I might be wrong in that regard. But I think there's like... Panzerfaust 44 from its introduction is not necessarily the same Panzerfaust 44 as in its late lifespan. Maybe. Again, I'm not an expert, it's just from what I seem to... It's just stuck in my head. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. Jäger Aufklärer, heavy scout squad. Red Eye Manpad, probably useless. Alpha Jet, probably useless because it's slow and I think has no ECM. And additional units would be added later. So Milan F1. No, Milan F2? Maybe it's because they're reserve squads, but is the Milan F2 not in time frame? I mean, Wargame is of course by no means a... Let's call it... high bar or anything in terms of like realism, but what is the... I mean, the Milan 2 in Wargame has 85, so surely we're gonna get Milan 2s in some capacity, right? And the Milan 3 for France is like barely out of time frame in Wargame, which is why it's a prototype. So I assume we're gonna see Milan 2s eventually. I don't wanna see Germans stuck with just Milan 1s, Panzerfaust 44s and Carl Gustavs. Jagdpanzer, Kanonenjagdpanzer. I mean, it's not as great in Wargame, but that doesn't mean it can be good here. But it's just a 5-point buff away from being like quite good. And a 120mm mortar, just probably the M113. Not sure if you see the age is 30, because WARNO is a bit more strict when it comes to using older model stuff, so I guess we're probably gonna see the M113. Then again, this is like a sort of reserve battalion kind of thing. So maybe they're gonna use older. I mean, they use the Milan one, Kanonenjagdpanzer. So maybe and basic jets, basic red eyes. Although the Stinger C was out of time frame, so that's probably all the manpads that Germany will get. 120mm mortar might actually be the HS30, you know, since it's like an older model and just used as a backup thing. Who knows? Also, only basic trucks as transports. But the Jäger shouldn't be too bad. I think in Wargame they're a bit... I don't want to say nerf because it's not really the right term, but I think they, compared to Wargame, or like in Wargame terms, they're more a shock type of infantry, rather than... And Panzerguns are actually more of the regular infantry. But, again, anyway. There we have the guards, the 39th guards. Gets the 80s, gets BMP 1 and 2, so like our current guards division, and a BMP 3. BMP 3 should not have the Arcan it has in Wargame, because that one is like from 2000 something. It's probably gonna get a Bastion, which is used by some T-55s, or the Chinese boat tank. BTR-60, MITZ, MI8TZ, there we go. Supply helicopter, whatever. BTR-60PV, whatever. BM-27, so we're gonna have the M270 counterpart, I guess. No TADU, but we get a Sturm S, which is like the ground-based Kokon carrier that we also have in Wargame. New very long-range ATGM carrier. Biryusa, Strata 1 on the BRDM2, so like a wheeled SAM with 4 missiles presumably. MI8s and MI24s with the very slower routes. So more helicopter support in our current Soviet division. So, you know, this one gets more helicopter support in the current division, and the American one gets less helicopters. So I guess it's interesting. Yeah. Oh yeah, they also get help from the Germans, but not as much by the looks of it. USZ with the SPG-9. Alright, fire support ships, here we go. Grenzer, Regan Infantry, and the big 23 MF fighter and SC-22 M4 ground attack planes. Could be anything, but in Wargame, the only SC-22s that East Germany has are ATGM, an ATGM plane, I believe, and a seaplane. I think those are the only two, right? ATGM with KH-29s, semi-active. Let me just double check. Yeah, we have the seaplane and the ATGM plane with KH-29Ls. One thing to also mention, I don't know if that's gonna be the case with the Soviet Division 2, but the German units in the American Division have fixed veterancy. So I guess Heimatschützen probably gonna come on the lowest veterancy level, which currently you cannot. Which currently you cannot select for any unit, right? This lowest veterancy level, which gives a reduction in stats. So I assume that Heimatschützen are probably gonna be poor. Jäger, I mean, they're fixed. I mean, there might be fixed veteran, there might be fixed trained. Maybe they're also poor. Probably shouldn't, but I don't know. Who knows what Eugene is gonna do. And that is basically it. Alpha Chat, they did mention loadout. I guess it probably could carry more than just napalm. It could probably also carry like 2 AG bombs or something, but I don't know. Maybe it's actually gonna be reasonably fast compared. If it's reasonably fast compared to Wargame, it might not be that bad. We'll see. And that is basically it. Oh yeah, 10v10 map, by the way. 90 square kilometers. Cool. It has, you can see it's probably like, it's a bit like 3 Mile Island, I guess, where there's like a center island. But man, bridges. Ah, I hate bridges. And it sounds like, I mean, you can read for it yourself, it sounds like the river is, there's like a big river that's not going through on a horizontal or vertical, but more like on a diagonal kind of direction, which is better than if it was horizontal, but still I hate rivers. There we go, there you can see the BM-27s. Boom, boom, very pretty. And yeah, that's the news roundup. I expect that we can expect these divisions next week, because they are now already behind their 2-week mark after release. But admittedly, right, and in all fairness, I'm not trying to like roast and be like lazy huge and come on, release it already. You know, planning for stuff like this is always difficult. And you know, they literally released the game and then probably were pretty busy fixing bugs and all that. In any case, that's it for. Can I exit? Yeah, that's it for this video. That's it for this news roundup. Let me know what you think. What the heck? Oh, okay. Holy shit! I never heard that sound before. I clicked on Mod Center on accident. Ay. Yeah, let me know what you think. I am more excited probably for the US Infantry Division. I guess it kind of depends also. They were not giving us a lot of information on what's in the Soviet Division, right? Here we can see, first of all, a lot more West German units that help out than, you know, East German units, at least based on this. We know of at least 3, if not all of the tanks available. More, you know, things. Here all we know is like, we don't really know any loadouts, we don't know about any new planes, we don't know about any tank variants other than the fact that we don't get a TADU. I guess the fact that it says the tank type loses its TADU variant, I guess it means it's gonna have the same TADs, which is the BV and B. I don't know about the T64. We don't know what the BMP3 has. I mean, probably like autocannon, HE gun, and Bastion missile, I guess. I feel like they gave more information on the American division. Also, the model tracking they said no new infantry squads or teams, so we're gonna see the same squads. Yeah. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it interesting. Let me know what you think, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Yeah, bye bye.